Welcome back to this Wednesday morning on the 17th day of January in the heart of the 618, RiverBender.com. It's our daily show. CJ Nasello here with you, and Andy with Joe's Market Basket. Really a staple business in the Riverbend region. And I know, Andy, I can tell you this. I have been to Joe's a time or two with my mom, and I've really started to fall in love with taking care of plants and beautifying the landscape inside and out. But this article got sent over, and this is about taking care of our plants, especially, the house plants during the winter months. And is this something you get asked quite a bit about whenever people walk through the doors?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Kind of ever since COVID hit, people spending that much more time at home and being indoors or even outdoors. The houseplant industry has really taken off the last few years, and it's something that we definitely backed up and got on board with, and it's been really, really good for us and our customers.
Well, and let me ask you about this too, because I've seen and you know a hell of a lot more about this than I do. I just seen a lot of succulents starting to be added to the kitchens. A lot of bathrooms have some succulents. Does that is that a house plant, or is that a different type of plant you just call succulents, and house plants are different?
I mean, they could be kind of considered different, but as far as we're concerned, I think we consider them all the same, because it's succulents do the same thing as a houseplant does. Adds to your indoor experience. It does. Those actually help filter the air as well. So we consider it the same as a houseplant, yes.
Well, and another thing that I'm really bad at, and I'm just going to put myself on blast here. One of our coworkers left and found another job, so she left us with plants. And for the last 3 months, I've been trying to keep one of them alive. I took the responsibility on to be the stepdad to one of these plants. Foster dad's probably the most appropriate term. And I'm telling you what, Andy, I seems like I'm overwatering it. Then when I wait to let the water dry out, it's too dry and it's going to fall over any second. Am I doing something? I know I'm doing something wrong, but what am I not figuring out here?
Yeah, I want to say right or wrong. A lot of people we always say, give too much love to their houseplants. Houseplants don't need your daily attention. As far as the watering goes, we do what's called a finger test. Kind of stick your finger in the soil, and if the first couple inches of the soil is dry, then it's time to water. But like I said, a lot of people, think they need to attend their houseplant every single day, and that's just not true. They're very hardy. Most of them are very easy to maintain, but just maybe a little bit less love. People want to, you can still talk to them every day, but maybe just let them do their thing.
Good. Now I don't feel as crazy, Andy. Thank you very much. I wanted to ask you about this. I noticed that on my plants in the home, there's some dust on them. And, for me, I'm freaking out thinking, oh, my goodness, I'm doing something wrong. But I guess dust is a part of just living inside the house. Is that normal for houseplants to have a little bit of dust on them?
It's very normal, but it's also very important to make sure you wipe the dust off your plants.
Okay.
So think of as a houseplant as like an air filter that you put in your furnace. That's exactly what the houseplant is doing. It's filtering your air. So when that dust appears on the leaves, you need to wipe that off so it can keep the airborne, keep the dust out of the air, and also help its growth. So it's very important to keep those leaves wiped down. We sell a product called Leaf Shine that helps with that. Or another easy thing to do is just get like a little sham cloth, just wet it a little bit and wipe each leaf off. Don't leave water streaks, but wipe off the dust on a regular basis.
And now does the dust, just going back to what you were saying earlier, does it block some of the light too, I'm guessing, because it's covering the plant so it can't get in there? Am I hitting on something here?
Yeah, that's correct. So when I said, as far as promoting growth, when the dust collects on that, it's that whole photosynthesis thing. The sun needs to hit the leaf so it can grow. House plants, along with other outdoor plants, they feed through their leaves. They feed through their tips and water and so forth. So, that dust is blocking their growth pattern.
Let me ask you this. I've had such an issue with finding the proper place to put plants in the house, because it seems like for a couple of hours, one room's getting a lot of sunlight, but the way my house is kind of shaped and built, it seems like that sunlight goes away pretty quickly. Is it just trying to figure out how much sunlight that plant needs inside, and then also finding out where can we put it to make sure it's getting what it needs?
Yeah. So when you're shopping for houseplants, it does help to maybe kind of do a little research, before you come out and pick a houseplant up. Obviously, we have a great staff here that can help pick out the right houseplant for the right spot in your house. But it really, sunny spots do matter. some houseplants like a little bit more darker corner. Some need the full sun. You mentioned succulents earlier on. Succulents love sun. They love heat. So a nice sunny kitchen window would be great for them. Other plants don't need that much sun. They can actually burn up if they get that hot direct sun. So knowing your spot and what kind of sun you get is very important in choosing a houseplant.
So the other thing I noticed too, Andy, is when I went on vacation at the end of Christmas and left the office here for about a week, I came back and I was freaked out because I thought, oh my goodness, my little, I forgot what you call them, the orbs that you stick into the dirt so it waters it while you're gone. I don't know if they work very well, but I decided maybe use it. Well, that was all gone. And then I realized my plants were bone dry. So I freaked out and just started dumping a bunch of water on them. What's the proper way to rehydrate your plant without, can you put it into shock?
You can put it in a shock. Really the best way I think, to water a houseplant is kind of from the bottom. Kind of set them in like a little saucer of water, and that way, the roots are on the bottom of that pot, so they can suck up the water as they need it. Now, you don't want to leave that in that saucer 24 hours a day, every day, because they can overwater themselves. But that's the best way to rehydrate a plant.
Really, really fascinating. And what's one thing that we can look for in terms of just looking at the soil to see if we have too much water in there? Because I know there are some signs that could show up in maybe the soil with some type of discoloration. Is that correct?
Discoloration. A biggest sign of dry soil is when it starts cracking.
Okay.
If you start seeing the top layer soil kind of crack throughout, that means it's just way too dry and does need to be rehydrated.
And another thing, Andy, that I'm running into too, and I was just looking at this article again, is that whenever I put too much water in, it's not draining out or it's not getting rid of that water quickly, so it's just sitting there. Is it, if there's water sitting, is it time to repot, maybe find another home for the plant?
Yeah. So when you get to that point, that's a great question. It is time to repot at that point. One thing people kind of may make the mistake on is they want to repot it into just too big of a pot. Houseplants by nature like to have tighter roots. So when you repot into something bigger, you don't need to go that much bigger of a pot, but you need fresh soil. You need just maybe a couple of inches more on the pot size. That way the roots can expand a little bit. But going too big on a pot, it's not the correct way to go.
Really interesting. And another thing I wanted to ask you about is my mom has a couple of plants that are a little taller that she keeps in the house, especially when the winter weather starts to come in. But throughout the year, we have a couple of taller ones in her house. In my house, I have a couple of bigger ones. I'm really fascinated about the pruning and trimming process of plants because it seems like if you do it wrong, you could really cause some damage. But if you do it right, you're going to keep your plant thriving and healthy for years.
Yep. So as far as pruning goes, obviously you can always snip off any dead or bad looking leaves. That's going to help promote growth. One thing on your vertical growers, kind of what you're talking about, is you never want to cut off the leader branch, is what it's called. The leader branch is going to be your middle one, your strongest one. That's going to be the tallest one, and that's going to grow. And that's what actually keeps that plant growing upward. If you cut or damage that leader branch, then it's going to start kind of going out sideways and not be as tall and vertical as that plant is meant to be. So it's very important to make sure you kind of leave that leader branch alone.
Really fascinating. And Andy, as we're talking about this, Joe's Market Basket has a ton of selection. And I know that there's so many younger kids that are getting their own apartments and just buying their house for the first time. And I've had a few reach out to me and ask for suggestions. What is a pretty good, do you have any FAQs maybe for some good starter plants for somebody that really would like to get into having some nice greenscape in their house and maybe some nice plants and ways that are easy to maintain?
Yeah, absolutely. There's obviously a lot of different houseplants, but the easiest ones for, like you said, starters and so forth, peace lilies, that's a very easy one. Snake plants, another easy one. Any kind of ivy, Boston ferns, little bitty palms, those are all very, very easy. And if you do make the mistake of overwatering or underwatering or lighting until you get that all figured out, those plants are very, very hardy and in my opinion, very easy to take care of and great starter plants for the people who are just getting started in the houseplant world. Really cool. Because I have a plant right now, I'm telling you, Andy, it's like a CJ plant. It's very temperamental. You look at it wrong and it's just going to fall over and die, it seems like. Have you ever experienced, what's the toughest plant, in your opinion, that someone can have in the house to really maintain? I hate to put you on the spot, but that's a pretty fascinating topic. Boy, I'm trying to think of what the toughest plant would be. sometimes jade plants or philodendrons, they can be a little finicky. Philodendrons kind of have the bigger leaves, and a lot of times when you overwater those, you'll start to see those leaves just brown out tips really, really quick.
Wow.
Jade plants, I don't think they're considered a succulent, but they're more in that succulent cacti world where they don't require a lot of water, but a little bit more sun. So I think those two might be a little difficult, but at the same time, once you figure out kind of what we talked about, and you'll be fine after you figure out your lighting, your watering for sure.
Well, it's really amazing to me too, Andy, and I'm sure you get this said a lot of times whenever you talk to folks at Joe's Market Basket, is it's the little things that can really add up to, keeping your plants really healthy. I mean, just what you said about the dust alone, I would have never thought, now that you said it out loud, makes perfect sense. But just looking at it in the house, I wouldn't think, oh, well, that's what's, causing that plant not to get as much sunlight. But it makes total sense talking about it out loud.
Yep. And like I said, too, again, these house plants, they act like an air filter.
Yeah.
We have to keep our air filters clean in our homes. So, keeping the air filter, clean and wiped off is very essential.
Absolutely. And Andy, before I let you go, you're in a beautiful greenhouse at Joe's Market Basket in Edwardsville, correct, today?
Yeah, today I'm in Edwardsville, huh?
And whenever you're in this point of the year, whenever it's, this is the coldest months of winter in January and February, what does Joe's Market Basket look to do? Is it starting to get a gauge on what spring's going to be like, what type of inventory you can bring in, or is it more about just maintaining what we have and helping the client whenever they come in for winter issues?
A little bit of both, to be honest with you. Right now we are starting to get all our spring stuff in, as far as, because here at Joe's Market Basket, we are a full line landscape and garden center. So right now we're getting all our hardscapes and all your natural stone, your block brick, mulch, all that stuff that could be outside now and not have to worry about it. Inside the store, obviously we gear up on house plants. We still have all our chemicals. A lot of people do start doing their seeds, their indoor veggies and herbs right now. So, all that stuff is starting to roll in. So even though it's cold and not very nice outside, there's still plenty to do that you can do inside your homes to get ready for spring.
That's really cool. And I wanted to ask you one more thing, if it's okay, because this is something that wasn't in the article, but I've always found it fascinating. I was witnessing somebody in February, a couple of years ago, maybe March. They had a couple of little, I forget what you call them, but the dirt pods that you can put little starter seeds in. And they had just a crate of them, and they started their plants really in March inside their house and got them big enough to where they could take them out. Is that common?
Yeah, it's very common. We saw those are. I'm sure you might be talking about peat pods.
Yes,
pods,
yes. Sorry about that. Yes, sir.
Yep. And it's very common. We like I said, that's all now starting to come in. So people do start coming in this time of year, get the peat pods, we actually sell little mini greenhouses too. So people start their veggie plants from seed. That's how they do it. They put it in these jiffy pots, put in these little mini greenhouses, put in their sunny window. And then by the time it is to transfer it outside, they're ready to go. So it's a great time to start.
Absolutely. And Andy, before I let you go, is there anything at Joe's discount wise, anything we should look out for, just if we're making our way up to Edwardsville in the next couple of days to get our hands on some great products?
We don't have anything really on sale right now. We do have our trees and shrubs, our outdoor stuff that was from last season. We still do have that on sale. Shrubs are 75% off, trees are 50% off. But keep in mind that's last year's stock, and anything new coming in from here on out wouldn't be on sale. But we still do have a little bit of selection from last season.
Really cool. Andy, I really appreciate your time on this. I hope it went okay for you. I really find it fascinating with keeping our plants cleaned off from the dust, and really, and what was that product again that Joe's Market Basket sells to help with this process?
We sell it. It's called Leaf Shine. So it's just like a foaming product. You can spray it on a rag or spray it right on the plant, and it just wipes off the dust and helps keep the dust off, and then also promote growth.
Really cool. Andy, thank you so much for your time. I know that you're busy today and dealing with the Edwardsville and O'Fallon location, and helping anyone that comes into the store. And for more information, what's your website for Joe's Market Basket?
We're at joesmarketbasket.com. And then also on the Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Andy, thank you so much. Anytime you want to come on, join me in the studio, talk about anything Joe's Market Basket. You have all the time in the world for me, because I love what you guys do.
Yep, absolutely. I appreciate that, and I'll take you up on that anytime.
Awesome. We'll take a quick pause here on the 17th day of January. It's a Wednesday morning in the heart of the 618. More of our daily show hits you next right after this.